Suh Dude.
Hey, what is going on? It's Suh Dudes. My name is Dean, and in the background, you are actually watching some PvP action from the Destiny 2 beta. Now, before we get too far into this, I think it's very important that I note that I am by no means a Destiny expert, a Destiny master, a Destiny pro. I don't know a ton about Destiny. I did pre-order this game, I did play the first one, but I played the first one very late into its life cycle, so it was like at a point where it wasn't really very popular, and I didn't play it a ton. I put some hours into it, but it wasn't a ton of time. And I enjoyed Destiny 1, but I didn't like love it. So this beta was very important to me. I pre-ordered Destiny 2 to get into the beta, to play it and give it a shot. And after playing it, after playing the PvP, the strike, and the main mission a little bit, I wanted to create sort of a pros and cons video, I guess, and like decide whether this is what I want to keep with my pre-order or not. Now, I don't think though that I'm entirely qualified to give a pros and cons, at least in terms of PvP. So what I actually did is I recruited my buddy Kevin. He played Destiny 1 just like a crap ton. He played, I think we added all together one time and it was like 56 days on the original Destiny. So he put a ton of time into the original Destiny. He loved the game, and I wanted to get his pros and cons, and I'll talk about those and what he says, and then I'll kind of evaluate on my experiences based on that. So we'll start with the pros, and the very first thing that he mentions is that gunplay matters more, and I can definitely agree with that. I didn't play a ton of PvP in the very first Destiny, but I can definitely see in this game that aim really does matter. It's very important. I think you'll see a lot in this game, and I'll talk about it later on. I feel like I'm not very good at aiming in this particular game. I don't know why. I think the controls are kind of clunky. I think that's the main reasoning behind it, but yeah, I did struggle a little bit with that. So I definitely see where he's coming from. It's very important to be accurate with the weapon, and I agree with that, and I do think that's a pro. I think that skill should triumph over lack thereof skill. The next thing he says is that the primary / elements allow you to customize for a short and long-term encounter. I don't really understand that. I don't know entirely what he's talking about, that, so I can't evaluate on that. But yeah, I mean, if you guys agree or disagree with that, leave it in the comments below. And if you want to evaluate on that, whatever he means by that, let me know. There's definitely a lot of customization, but it feels very similar to Destiny 1 to me. So I don't see a huge change in customization. I'm guessing it means in terms of your loadout. So Kevin, also, if you see this video, evaluate on that for me a little bit more. The next thing he says is that teamwork is huge. Team shots and 4v4 make you really make a difference. And yeah, I agree with that. It's very much a team-oriented game, and that we'll kind of get into that a little bit in the cons also as well later on. I can definitely see that this is very team-oriented. I didn't play with a party. I've only been playing solo. When I get the game, or if I get the game, spoilers, but yeah, if I get the game, I'll definitely start playing with my brother who plays a ton, I think, and we'll play as a team, because it definitely feels like it's very dependent on who you're matched up with. Like in this particular game, I felt like I did really well, and my score was good at the end in terms of the efficiency, but I don't think that I did that great. I think my team was just bad, and that's why we, spoiler again, end up losing this game, is that we didn't have good teamwork. So I can definitely see where he's coming from. And the final thing he says is that the one-shot opportunities are much rarer. Power ammo / supers giving you a chance to fight back. And yeah, there's definitely a huge TTK in this game. And I don't know if I necessarily agree that that is a positive. I think that the TTK is a little too high. If you don't know what TTK means, it's time to kill. So I think that the TTK is a little bit too high, and it takes a little bit too much to kill people in this game. But I know that there was a big issue in the original Destiny with one-shots, especially with the sniper rifles. I think that was a huge issue, right? I could be wrong, but yeah, I can definitely see where he's coming from. I don't want to get one-shotted. You guys don't want to get one-shotted when you're playing a game, so if that's a plus for him in that regards, then yeah, I guess I agree too, but I think the TTK is a little too low right now. All right, so moving on to the cons now. The first con he says is that supercharge rates suck, which might change for the final build, but as far as this beta goes, the charges for the supers, for the ultimates in this game, which you see me get right there, is they're pretty slow. I can definitely attest to that. I think that they are really slow. Like I said, in this particular game, I don't think I did bad. I don't think I did like amazing or anything, but this is a pretty decent game. I feel like I get a 2.25 efficiency rating at the end, and I feel like that's kind of where like we draw the parallels of like, this is where like a good player is normally going to be around, or a good game at least, not maybe a good player. But a good game is going to be in that like 1.8 to high 2s ratio. So I got 2.25, and it took me until the score was like 60, I think, when I got that. That's a long time to get the super. And I know that in Destiny 1, it may have been a little bit rambunctious in terms of like, there was supers all over the place, if I remember correctly. And that was kind of an issue. So I can understand why they'd want to tone that down. But it's definitely a fun thing, and it's a major part of Destiny. So I think that they need to maybe tone them up a little bit for the final build. And I definitely agree with him that that is a con. And the next con that he has is that you cannot play with your buds, you can't play with your friends because of the 4v4 element. And we talked about this earlier. 4v4 definitely creates more of a team-oriented option. It's more communication, but when you get rid of 6v6, you're lessening the spots you have to play with your friends. And I know that's a huge thing about Destiny, is playing with your buddies. That's like a huge thing in this game, and this gameplay is actually winding down, and I have a little bit more to talk about, so I'll probably slap another gameplay in here. Probably won't be as good, but there'll be another gameplay. But yeah, I think that's a big issue in terms of like not being able to play with your friends. That is something that you want in this game, and it's something that they've always, I wouldn't say always because Destiny has only been around for a little bit, but it's something they seem to have strived for in the original Destiny, was the ability to play with your friends, and that was something huge. And the final thing, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, that I want to touch on in terms of the Destiny 2 beta, and it's a very similar problem that I had with the original Destiny, and that's the controls feel really, really, really clunky. Like the aiming is very, I don't know what the word is, whatever the antonym of fluid is, it feels very unfluid. It does not feel good to me. Like the aiming, I have to jack my sensitivity up to like 7 or 8, I think, just to be able to stay on target. But at times it feels like my controller just goes haywire, and I don't know. It feels like when I'm aiming down sights, like it's too fast, but when I'm not aiming down sights, it feels like it's too slow. I think that's the best way to describe it. And some of it is I just need to learn the controls as well. I recognize that, but they just feel, it doesn't feel nearly as fluid as it should be. And that was a problem that I had with the original Destiny as well. And I think that it may have to do a little bit with the fact that this game is running at 30 frames per second. Now, I'll touch on that in another video. I do want to talk about that a little bit more in length, but yeah, it's running at 30 frames a second, and I think that has something to do possibly with the clunkiness. And yeah, that's kind of my pros and cons list, or Kevin's pros and cons list, and then my experience with it. For the most part, I agree with him. I don't understand, or not understand, I don't know a ton about Destiny, so I don't feel incredibly comfortable talking about it, but this is kind of what I felt, and I think that I'm definitely going to be keeping my pre-order. At the very least, I think that the PvE experience will be fun enough, and I will again talk on that in another video, as it should be the next video. But yeah, we'll discuss PvE a little bit more in the next video. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like, and if not, feel free to give it a dislike, and make sure to sound off in the comments below. Let's have a discussion. Teach me anything about Destiny that you guys know, and I will see you in the comments below. Peace.